Welcome to Becoming Fearless, the personal growth podcast for you if you are ready to overcome fear and step into your greatness. Our purpose is to help you overcome your limits, have loads of fun along the way, unlocking your fullest potential in life, business, health and relationships every single day. I'm your host, Charlotte Carter, a high-performance coach and entrepreneur with over 20 years experience. I've supported many highly driven, talented people like you who dream big and are ready to take action to overcome what's holding them back. Each week, my guests and I will be sharing hacks and habits on how to build self-belief, courage and confidence to master your mindset and navigate your emotions so that you can reach your human potential in a way that feels light, fun and easeful and helps you become fearless. Let's go. Hello there and welcome to another episode of Becoming Fearless. I am excited to bring to the ears of you all this guest episode that I have for today, which is all about a connection. I want to just talk a little bit about intuition before we go into me introducing the guest. So I was at an event possibly, I don't know, maybe about 6 or 8 weeks ago. Listening to lots of different speakers. I'd been to this event a couple of times. I'm speaking at this event next time. And I always take something different away from different people. And Christina, I'd never heard her name. I never look up the people who are speaking or anything like that. I always go totally without any preconceived ideas. And Christina came on and it was like, whoa, this is somebody that I want to talk to about fear for certain. I want to talk to about energy for certain. So it was like, without a doubt, somebody that I would invite on to the Becoming Fearless podcast. So Christina, do you want to introduce yourself and let people know a little bit about who you are and what you do and how you help people?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, thanks for having me. My name's Kristina Castellina, which I realise is a mouthful and it rhymes. So I am a property investor. I'm 37, nearly 38, mum of 2, started with nothing 10 years ago and have built a multi-million-pound portfolio and still invest, still very much in the market buying, but I also now, after all my years of experience, help other people to get involved in property and build solid recession-proof portfolios.
Which is so exciting for so many people listening, because I know a lot of people are into this, but it's not like a walk in the park, is it, on some levels? Let's talk about Let's talk about your journey sort of pre in your early 20s then. Where did you start off? What was kind of like the story pre what you're doing now?
So when I was in my 20s, I was very much living like, I would describe it as a free life in that I was a singer. So I had a lot of, what would I say? Like flexibility almost in, I was kind of here, there and everywhere. So one year I would be working, singing in a production show on a cruise ship and I'd be traveling around the world. And then the next year I would be back in Blackpool, which at the time was home, and I'd be working in a show in Blackpool. And then I'd maybe travel and do another, I'd travel for Christmas and I'd do panto somewhere and then I'd come back home again. So I had quite an exciting lifestyle, which is what I definitely need as an individual. I love variety. I can't stand the mundane, like just everything being the same. It's just not the way I'm built. So in terms of lifestyle, I loved the excitement of different things, different contracts. But as I got sort of in my mid-20s, what I craved more than anything actually was security, financial security, because I just had no stability with my income. And I actually, when I look back, I always had money. I always had enough money. So it's not that, I would go months without work. I was always in work. But what I realised is that my voice was my income. And that's a risky place to be. And I also, annoyingly, I'm one of those people that always gets a chest infection at Christmas. And it will last for 6 weeks. And that is hell if you're a singer. It's awful. And I'd be going out doing gigs with a chest infection, like singing and then turning away from the mic and coughing, like this rattling chesty cough. And I kind of thought, right, well, this is all fun now, but is it going to be fun in my 40s when I've got a family? Probably not. It's not going to be ideal. So I knew that there was kind of a timer on it. And some people do have this career forever, but I knew for me that I just craved financial security. And I was, I guess, without knowing, I was quite entrepreneurial, and I was switched on, and I've always been that person. Like, I'd go and see a show, and then I'd look at the audience, I'd try and work out how many people were there, how much they'd paid for the ticket, how much the cast had been paid, and I was always working out what profits people were making on their businesses. So I just had that mind that was constantly ticking over of like, how do people make money? How do people make money? And to cut a very long story short, in my very early 20s, I was living in London, and I got approached by a friend. I didn't know her very well, actually, but she had a network marketing business. The company was really new to the UK. She was doing really well, and I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what it was, what it entailed. There was a lot of negativity around network marketing. It wasn't called network marketing. Everyone just called it pyramid selling at the time. There was no like Instagram and online shopping. It was very clunky. You know, they were quite, really, when I look back, they were quite innovative as a company. Everything was like vegan protein, and, you know, it was such an innovative, you know, and I remember them saying back then, you know, we're going to go green, everything's going to go green. And it just seemed like such a mad concept, you know. This is 17 years ago, some time ago. And she started to talk to me about passive income and earning money while you sleep and having leverage, and it blew my mind. So I didn't really know what I was signing up for, but I was like, I'm in. Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. And the greatest gift that actually came from all of that is I started reading personal development books and business books, and basically understanding what wealthy people do. And they have leverage. So they own assets, they own big businesses with staff underneath them, and they take the profit at the top. Or they own property, again, where they've got rental income coming in, you know, day in, day out. Or, you know, businesses such as network marketing, they have leverage. And that really, I got obsessed with the concept. I got obsessed with the idea. And I thought that to be a property investor, you had to have already made your money. So my mindset was, once I've made lots of money in network marketing, then I'll go into property. I thought it was something that rich footballers did. I didn't realise it was something that normal people could do. And then I went to a free Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar, and the whole 2 hours was all about investing in property, but being really creative and raising finance, and, you know, working with private investors and giving them 10% on their money, and, like, you know, buying really rundown houses and adding value. Again, blew my mind, and I just knew I had to do it. I just had this feeling of like, this is exactly the thing I've been looking for. If I can raise finance to do property deals, this will set me up for life. And this is 10 years ago. And I ended up investing like my life savings to go on their proper course where you get a mentor. And the cost of the training was 18,000, and I only had 16,000. So talk about facing your fears. So I handed over all my money. I put £2,000 on a credit card, and then thought, sod it, let's do it then. And everyone thought it was mad. Everyone thought it was crazy. So I was living in Blackpool, and I didn't know anyone that was in property. My mum and dad thought it was crazy. I just had this, I don't know, I guess a bit of a risk taker, but I also understood the importance of education. I understood the importance of investing in your mind and personal growth. And I just thought, well, if these people can show me how to do it, I'm willing to work hard. And yeah, the rest, as they say, is history. It's definitely not as straightforward as they said it would be. You know, they make everything just sound so easy, and you just go and find investors, and you find these deals, and you renovate them, and it sounded so easy. And the reality is that it was a lot harder. But it's been the best thing I've ever done, and it's totally changed my life.
And would you say that, thank you for sharing that story, and would you say that when you've admitted you're a risk taker, you're admitted you're an action taker and you work hard, would you say that there's any part of you that has, like, you're in tune with your intuition and inner knowing and the energy side of things? Like when you said, I just knew I had to do it, was that like an internal yes? Was that like like
100%.
a hard moment in your life, or?
No, it was an absolute gut. I can't sleep because I'm so like just it just overtook my life in that. Yeah, I just loved the concept. And I still love the concept. I loved it. And I just had this absolute gut feeling and knowing that it was the right thing for me to do. Yeah.
So good, isn't it? And have you had anything else like that since, in different guises, or do you think like that's like been your biggest one in your life so far? Or have you had like mini versions, like personal ones in different guises that have had that same depth of feeling?
Yeah, I have. I get it most when it's time to leave something, when it's time to walk away, when a relationship. Oh yeah, I had it actually with a mentor that I'd had for years, and I had this like gut feeling of I need to move, I need to find my own way now. And it was a really difficult decision, and it was a painful decision. It was a scary decision, actually. And but I had this gut, this knowing, and as soon as I did it, so much more took off for me. So much more happened. So I do have it, and often I want to ignore it because a lot of the time your gut instincts, you don't want to follow it because it involves doing something that you don't really want to do, or just facing something that you don't want to face. A lot of the time, that's where I get mine the most, is where I've got a gut feeling and I'm like, oh no, don't make me do it. But then when I do, something better happens.
And I think just on that point, and it's a real big branch in terms of becoming fearless, there's a lot of people that have this kind of like feeling where they're finding their courage and they're like, they want to make a change, like you said, either leave a relationship or move on from a mentor, or an ending of something that's going to open up all of this space. And with that brings a lot of sadness and a lot of loss. And I think sometimes people get lost in that piece and don't actually go and do the thing. They get trapped into that bit of, because their immediate aha moments are, well, actually, I'm going to lose this, 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 and this, and the fear of lack of scarcity comes in, rather than, yeah, but what am I going to gain on the other side? I know this bit's going to be uncomfortable, but what I'm going to gain on the other side is going to blow my mind, and it's going to be way more expansive than it ever has been. Do you think you've always led with your gut, or do you think in hindsight there's been times in your life where you're like, do you know what, that was a sign then and I just didn't pick it up because I wasn't as attuned in?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Especially when I was younger, I would always seek validation externally, and I would always want everyone to tell me what to do because I didn't want to make the decisions myself. And that's something I've had to learn as a property investor. When I first started property, my gut, I worked with builders, and in my gut, I knew that they weren't right. But I didn't want to have an awkward conversation, so I'd go along with it and hope that I was wrong because it was the easy thing to do. But it ended up being a nightmare because they did a terrible job and we fell out anyway. So yeah, there's been lots of times I've ignored my gut and it has not worked out for me. And I think, and also I think it's easier to trust your gut when you're in a space of calm. But if I ever get where I'm kind of like in my head too much, and I haven't been doing the stuff that I know is good for me, I haven't been meditating, I've not been kind to myself, and I've got myself into a place of like anxiety. I definitely, as I've got older since having kids, I go through bouts of anxiety, and it's where I haven't given myself time to switch off, I haven't given my brain enough downtime. I get anxiety. And it's those moments where I'm not in sync anymore. I'm not aligned. And that's when I start asking people, what do you think? What do you think? When actually, I know, but I'm just not in sync with myself.
And I think there is so much wisdom in that for people listening. If people are thinking, if people are in that space of actually just feeling a little bit unsettled, feeling a bit anxious and can't quite put the finger on it, it's about seeking the answers within, isn't it? And understanding that actually in a lot of times, once you can create some space, in your head. For a lot of high performers, a lot of high achievers that I work with, it's get out of your head, because that's where you're fueling some of the anxiety. It's because you're in your head too much and overthinking and analysing and, what if, playing out in your head. Whereas when you drop into your body or drop into anything completely different in your life, then you start to be more present, be more able to navigate some of the stuff and get yourself realigned and recentered and ready to go again. So what would you say is the focus now? Let's talk about, so you're here and you've made this investment and you've learned from the mentors. And what was the first property you bought? What was the first sort of leap into that business?
Well, I actually bought 2 properties on the same day. So I never had what was your first property? Mine was, what were your first 2? I bought, and they were quite big properties as well. I bought a 6-bed licensed HMO, which is where they rent out by the room, and a block of 5 flats. When I say block, it's basically a terraced house that had been converted into 5 studio apartments. So they were quite big deals for someone that was brand new and didn't really know what they were doing. They were my first 2. Jumped in with both feet. I worked with a joint venture partner on this, so I found the deals and negotiated them. I picked them up so cheap. And the person I was working with financed it, so he put in all the money. I worked with the builders, the letting agent, got them rented out, and then we split the profits 50-50. So that was they were my first 2. And can you hear that helicopter, by the way?
Yeah.
Can you hear? It is literally circling.
Is there something going on outside?
Well, we live near a woods, so it must. They usually, when something's going on, they go round and round the woods. But I feel like it's literally just going round my house, just coming back and dead loud. And I've got the window closed as well. Sorry.
It's fine.
What was the question? Oh yeah, my first deals. Yeah, so I jumped in with both feet with big deals, really.
And so, how did you find that? How did you find? Was it like what you thought? Was there any element of fear in all of that process, or were you full on excited?
A mixture of both. I think I was quite naive, in a way. I was nervous, and I definitely had some sleepless nights. But a mixture, a good healthy combination of excitement and fear with it, I would say.
And where did you snowball next?
So from there, we went on, the same person, we went on and we did another 4 back-to-back HMOs, 6-bed HMOs. And then I'd made a mistake where we were buying in the same area and we were acquiring property quickly without testing the model. And what actually transpired is there wasn't a huge demand for HMOs, and it was a bit of a pain, really. There wasn't a very good. None of the letting agents wanted to manage HMOs because it's a lot more hands-on. There's a lot more turnover. So we ended up with one letting agent, and she wasn't overly friendly with tenants, and she would ring me with all these problems. And I would say for the first few years, I actually hated property. And I got to a point where I wanted to quit because it felt so stressful in comparison to the life I'd been living as a singer. And even in network marketing, there's no risk. You're not dealing with solicitors and interest rates and finance, and it felt very, very heavy. And I felt like I'd spent a couple of years working really, really hard to end up buying properties that stressed me out. That's how I felt. And I'd had run-ins with builders. I just felt really naive and gullible and a bit stupid. I've had a lot of self-hatred, really. That sounds horrible to say that, but that is true. I felt really embarrassed for myself and really like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I've got all these houses, but I actually hate, I'm not enjoying it. So that's when it was a real turning point. So I was part of this property community and we'd meet up once a month. It was really supportive, really amazing. And the guy that had done my original mentorship, it was only a 3-day mentorship, he'd really helped me, but then he'd gone. And then I was doing all this on my own and I felt so alone, so isolated, so lonely. And And he, just as I was feeling like I actually don't feel like I can do this, I've not got the heart to do this anymore, he messaged me and said, I'm starting one-to-one coaching. Do you want any help? And it was quite, I remember thinking it was quite expensive as well at the time. I thought, well, it's this, so I'm going to quit. So I said, yeah, let's do it. And we had our first meeting, and I literally cried my heart out to him, sobbed and just told him all the things I felt had gone wrong. And, he let me cry. And then he said, well, actually, you're incredible at finding property deals, so don't. Because I was like, I'm an awful investor, I'm rubbish, And he was like, well, let me just stop you there. You're actually an amazing investor. What you need is a bit of self-belief, and you need a backbone. You need to start standing up for yourself. And we took it right back to basics. And the person that I'd been working with, I sent him an email, and we had a talk on the phone, and I just said, there's not enough in this business for both of us. And he bought me out, which I honestly, I would have walked away for free, to be honest. But he bought me out, and I felt the relief. But then I also felt like, oh, I'm back to square one. I'm back to zero. I've got no property again. But then we set a strategy, with my mentor, and he said, go back to basics, go small, go to what works, buy to lets, work a dream in your area, and you're good at finding deals. Let's go back to that. And that's what I did. I then built a portfolio in my own name, working with private investors. So I would work with private investors and say, I'll offer you 10% per annum on your money. I'd do a deal, give them their money back plus their interest, and then find another deal, and we'd do it again. And I literally did that over and over and over and over again until I ended up with about 15 buy-to-lets. And then was like, oh, and it worked so well, so simple. If I've got too many plates spinning, I get overwhelmed and nothing happens. So I just kept it so simple. I just get buy-to-lets and I do the odd flip, and that is all I did for years until I got to a place where I felt quite financially secure. And then I started going on to do bigger deals.
And when was it that you decided that you had this kind of next other branch out where you're like, actually, now I've got this experience, now I want to help people. I want to help people actually who want to get themselves, in your words, financially secure and want to jump into this property space. When was it you decided?
People just started asking me. So once I'd been in property for about 4 or 5 years, I actually got asked to be a speaker for Rich Dad Poor Dad. And Martin Roberts from Homes Under the Hammer, he had a property academy. So I became a speaker teaching people how to invest in property. It's like a 2-hour kind of preview of what's possible. So I did that, which I loved, and it was so fun. And again, it gave me the variety in life that I need. So I'd be like, half the week I'd be investing, and the other half I'd be, in London, speaking in these gorgeous hotels, inspiring people. And it was just a gorgeous, perfect mix. So I did that up until my firstborn, so Grayson 6, and I think I did it until he was about 1.5. And at that point, it was too much travelling. I wanted to be at home with my baby. And so I was just doing the odd date here and there, but I was like, actually, no, like that's, again, had to trust my gut. This has run its course. I've done this for a long time, and I'm a mum now, and my priorities have totally changed. So, yeah, I trusted my gut, and I had this really, really strong emotional experience where I was actually speaking at an event, and I was a 2-hour preview speaker, which basically my role was to educate people on what's possible in property, but then sell them onto the 3-day training that I did. So it was really powerful, because I was like, a few years ago I was sat in your seat, and now I've done this. But the last time I spoke, when it got to that point for me to do essentially the sales pitch, I had this unbelievable feeling of, I don't want to do this anymore. And it was almost like a panic attack. And at the end, I walked to the back of the room. The event closed. I got in my car. I phoned the organizer of all the events, and I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do it anymore. It was that quick. It was that instant, that quick. And I just said, I'm not enjoying it now. I feel like I was going to have a panic attack. My body doesn't want me to do this anymore. And I stopped, and I literally never went back. It was that sudden. And again, I never looked back. I was literally like, I'm done. I've had an amazing time. I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore. And it's so interesting. It was a year later, the company went bust. So I would have been selling people onto this, yeah. But I just had this feeling and I stopped doing it. And it's really, really interesting as well. I kind of walked away, and then a year later, there's so many people that were owed lots of money and the company went bankrupt. There's all this stuff that unraveled, but I left way before any of that happened and I just followed my gut instinct. So to answer your question about coaching, it's just something that naturally happened. People would say, "Can you teach me? Can you help me?" And they started reaching out. So it wasn't planned. It was kind of accidental, where people need support, and I get it because I was exactly the same. And sometimes if you are just hobbling along on your own, it's really hard. Sometimes you just need someone that's done it, that can say, no, you know, spot any mistakes, look, see any holes in a deal and say, actually, that's not a good deal, or just support you and say, that's brilliant, crack on with it, just give you that support that you need. So I would say that that side has just naturally, organically grown, where people need the support. And I've thought, well, actually, I can help. It was just a natural occurrence, really.
And so what changed? And that's just a fascinating story, isn't it? Just to sit with that space about how this whole body reaction, when you were going to talk about, selling people into that 3-day program where you were just in this panic riddled state, and you knew without a shadow of a doubt that you were going to then make the decision to jump from that. Just listeners, as you're listening in, have you had moments in your life where there's been times like that? Because it is your intuition, it is your energy, it's powers outside of you that are saying, look, hang on a minute, I want to just give you this heads up. This is something that actually, there's much greater things, much happier things, much easier things for a lot of high performers. Sometimes there's easier things around the corner. And we've built up this pretense of things having to be hard and difficult. So once you've made that step now and you've got your family, how's life now? Where do you get your variety now? Because I know you've got your 2 young boys. Life's very different, isn't it, from when you had that freedom of being a singer? How does life look like now, and what are where do you get your variety now?
Such a great question, because life has changed since having children. So I get my variety from I'll do a lot more speaking gigs, which is how we met. So going to different things and being asked to speak and doing podcasts. I feel like I have to take full responsibility for it, because the way that my life is set up now, there's the school run every day and the weekends are with the kids. And my youngest has only just turned 4. He's still a baby, and he's still this, the weekends. I know this is awful to say, but sometimes I say to my husband, the weekends can be so boring because everything is about, keeping them happy. And you spend a lot of the time doing things you don't really want to do, but you're just doing it to keep the kids happy. So I'm definitely, I wouldn't say now that my life is as exciting as it used to be, simply because it can't be, because I've taking the kids to school in the morning, picking them up, and that's the reality. So I kind of have to make peace with that, and I get my enjoyment definitely more of a peaceful way. And actually, a lot of it is, if someone said to me, do you want to go out tonight? I say, oh no. I actually do, I'm quite happy living a more calm life. But again, I have to listen to myself when I know that my life has been too mundane. I know that, right, I need to get my diary out, and I need to book in some nights at the theatre, and I need to book some things with some friends, and I have to take ownership of it, because as soon as I've got those little things in, those little rewards, those treats, I'm such a better mother, I'm such a better person, I'm a better wife. So I think it's just about discipline, of being in charge of my diary and not getting lazy and letting that slip.
And I think life is very, very different, isn't it? We lead these chapters in our lives, don't we? And yours has been so fruitful and so colourful, hasn't it? That the mum and the family chapter is, fruitful and fulfilling in very, very different ways. But it does has that element of routine. It has that element of, the mundane in some of the tasks, because that is what it is to raise a family. And then when you come out of that,
Yeah.
you're in a different place again. So it's like finding, I'm talking to my clients this week about finding the magic in the mundane sometimes is one of the things that people, high performers, have to find their courage to like find the magic in the mundane, which is what you've just highlighted that you do. So you're like, okay, in this moment, I know I've got to have some time with friends. I know I've got to go and do some speaking gigs. I know I've got to do some things for me on my own. And then I'll be able to come back and be in this space and be able to create this harmonized family because I've filled my own cup, which I think is one of the biggest things.
Yeah.
And for a lot of mums, I think they drop that.
And it's so funny, like before kids, I didn't, coffee, I could take it or leave it. But now, like a coffee is just like almost like a spiritual ritual where I'll take the dog out and I'll go to my favourite coffee shop and they just do the most delicious oat milk lattes. It's the smoothest coffee in Liverpool. And I walk around the woods with that coffee and it's just so simple, but it makes me feel spoiled. It makes me feel like this. It's just like a symbolization of this is my time. I'm going to enjoy this. No one's pulling at me. No one's got dirty fingers. And, it's just, I'm just on my own. It's peaceful. So I try and do that. And my husband's the same. Like we try and do that every day. It's obviously a bit more difficult at the weekends when we've got the boys. And also sometimes as well, I say to my husband, I'm like, I just need an hour. Like the kids are in bed, we've had our tea, I'm like, I just need to zone out, leave me alone, let me watch Bridgerton, because that's me filling my own cup. And it makes the world of difference for me to just turn my brain off. And he's like, you want to zone out? And I'm like, yeah, no, I do want to zone out. I want to zone out and I want to just, because I notice that I'm so much happier for it.
Well, it's a release, isn't it? And I see this for many, many high performers and high achievers. Their brain is like they're one of their biggest assets. But it's also, you've got to create that time where it is zoned out of, in a pleasurable way. So like you can go like on the walks, you can be more present, like when you're going walking with your coffee, or you can go and watch something that totally absorbs you and you're taken out of your space. In terms of the pattern interrupters of life, they're very, very powerful. And I think when you can get to a sweet spot like you've got, where you've got this richness in life in all of the guises, and then you've got this awareness within yourself, then you're in a really great place, aren't you, to teach the boys more about life, be more present with them, and then also know that once that chapter and once they're older, you'll be back doing a completely different variety.
And then I think I'll miss it, and I'll be like, miss my babies, and I am aware of that. And when as soon as we're not with them, me and my husband go on a walk, and then all we do is talk about them. So I know that my little one's starting school in September, and I know I'm going to be a wreck. I'm going to cry my eyes out. So it's just, it's kind of, it's just, I think it's acceptance and just knowing that it is a chapter and it's very different to the chapters I've had previously, but it's still rich and it's fulfilling and it's real. And it's, extreme emotion of like wonder and amazement, but also frustration. It's just a big ball of all this emotion, but at least it makes you feel you're alive, you're alive with it.
And you've had the fortune and the opportunity to create it, haven't you? So there's always, an appreciation of that. Wherever we are in life, we get to choose where we're going to go next. And so much of your work.
And I was just going to say, and I still love what I do as a property investor. So I still get such a buzz from buying houses. So that, I find I still get excitement from that as well.
Which is great, because when you have that big moment where you're like, this is a knowing, that's stood the test of time, hasn't it? It wasn't just like a flash in the pan. It's like you've carried it and built wealth around you, and you still love it, in a different guise than what you did. So it's a real test to you tuning into yourself for certain. So I just always ask my guests a little bit about how people can get hold of them if they want to work with you. So I know we've got all the details, we'll put them all on the show notes, but what are the ways that you work with people if people are in that space of, I'd love to get into this? How can they get hold of you, and what are the things that you offer now?
Okay, so I'm actually launching an online training program on how to be a successful. There's so much to property. People don't realise that there's so much opportunity, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's also very easy to lose money. You don't want to fall in that category. So I've got an online course which I'm launching the end of this month, and that takes people through all the different strategies, how to find deals, how to raise finance if they feel that their investment pot isn't quite where it needs to be to do the amount of deals they want to do. So there's that. If you kind of want to learn on your own and you're doing it in the background, that is perfect for you. If you want more of a hands-on approach, then I've got one-to-one mentorship, and I've also got packages where I'll actually come to your investment area and spend 2 days with you, viewing houses, raising finance, putting offers out, getting your systems in place, doing being productive, getting stuff done. And then after that, you've got me, for a year, one-to-one coaching. That's the most powerful thing, because it's, we're going to do it because we're together. Yeah. You've got me there holding your hand. So that's a power. That's for people that are like, I want to get a portfolio, whether it's you want to buy 2 houses or 20 houses. It's like, I'm going to, you want to do it. Or even for those people that are like, you've got potentially a pot and it's sat in the bank getting, say, 4% interest, and you're thinking, actually, you don't want to own property, but you want to get good returns. Potentially, an option for being a private investor and getting those set returns from me, like a lot of my investors do.
Yeah. So, are all of those ways to get hold of you, are they all on your website?
Yes, so you can go onto my website, but if you want to chat more directly, my Instagram is @thegoodlife_property investor, or you can get hold of me on Facebook as well, send me a message. I'm trying to think about, I don't know if my email is on my website. There is a way that you can book a 30-minute call, so you can always book a call with me through my website. But yeah, I'm quite active on Instagram, so you can send me a message there.
So that's probably the best way. If people are listening, just go and find Kristina on Instagram. Her link will be below the show notes, so you can literally listen to this, pick her up from there, and send her a message from there, and let her know that you'd heard, found out about her from the podcast. So the last question that I always ask everybody is about a book that they have read or listened to that has made an impact in their life, and allowed them to navigate fear or be brave or courageous or something like
that. Okay. I'm just looking at the books. I've got them all around me, and they've all had such an impact. But actually, this is probably a different one. It's something quirky that maybe you won't have had before. The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. So this book is so powerful. So I used to binge drink. I've never been a person that sits at home drinking a glass of wine every night, but I certainly, I'd say 2 to 3 weekends of the month would always have a social occasion in my diary where I would go and I would drink, even if it was 4 glasses, enough to feel hungover the next day. And it was really battering my immune system. And I lost so much time to brain fog, the post-drink anxiety. And I felt my productivity was lower after I'd had a night out. And it's something I always wanted to do, was to be like, I wish I could just stop drinking. And then I made a decision and I read this book, and it absolutely changed my relationship with alcohol. And I went 9 months totally dry. And now I could take it or leave it. So I'll have, if I'm at something and there's a glass of Prosecco go around, I'll have a glass or half a glass, and I'm not bothered. Put it down, leave it, don't care. It's just totally changed my relationship. And my health, I cannot tell you the difference in my health. I used to get ill at least once every couple of months, and I didn't get ill this winter. Like I say, I used to get chest infections. I've not had a chest infection now since I stopped drinking. I've not had a chest infection, touch wood. It's been such a change to my mental health, physical health, productivity, everything.
Yeah, very, very powerful. I love sharing that book. So that book will also be in the notes for people, and anybody that, again, has started to notice that actually for their health, they are, maybe having a few glasses more than they'd like to, or feeling the effects of it, or wanting to make the changes, then go and read that book, because it sounds like it's super, super powerful, and it's definitely helped you make a change. So there's no codependence with the drink. You can just take it or leave it, which is a great, powerful place to be, isn't it? So thank you so
100%.
much. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. We've created a longer episode than normal, but that is because there was a lot to share, and we've talked about many, many things. And I hope that people have listened to like Kristina's journey in terms of like an inner knowing. We talk about fear a lot. I talk about courage and bravery, which are all in that journey. But there's also, this episode talks a lot about inner knowing and trust, and the connection between the mind and body. And the body will definitely send you signals to make you aware of changes that would really help and benefit your life. So thank you so much, Kristina. I've really, really enjoyed you being on the Becoming Fearless podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. I hope that you're feeling energized, fearless, and inspired to take action today to stand in your greatness. I share even more tools and resources on my I Dare to Leap email newsletter. By signing up, you not only get early access to the I Dare to Leap products and services, but you also get brand new podcast episodes delivered straight to your inbox every Monday, meaning you'll never miss your weekly dose of Becoming Fearless energy. Sign up now at www.idaretoleap.com/newsletter, or click the link in the show notes below.